Hello everybody, my name is Rascal and very sorry that this video is coming out so late. I have been moving things around in this new studio. I also have a new studio, so this is going to be a little bit of the I'm working on something right now, so please bear with me and the JPEG just for the time being. Thank you for your patience. Let's get on with the video. Building a commander deck can be daunting. The hours of brewing, creating, and going through so many cards in your collection can be intimidating. In this Magic Corner episode, we'll not just help you pick a commander, but help you also brew one. Keep in mind that this episode will be subjectional. You are the one creating and brewing decks for Commander and other formats of Magic the Gathering. So what I teach in this episode will be from how I brew and create decks as opposed to others. Everyone builds differently, and every deck will be unique to one another. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and find out what's your playstyle. First, we need to find exactly how it is you play Magic the Gathering. Are you a Timmy, a Johnny, a Spike? Well, in order to find out what these three people are, we need to define who they are and just to start. Timmies are the ones who love playing the biggest creatures and the biggest spells. You enjoy the thrill of being the biggest threat at the table. Whether it be social, diverse, the adrenaline, it's just all big stuff, playing big and flashy things. Johnnies are the purest form of the aspect of Magic the Gathering. How clever or offbeat you are. These are your typical combo players or your offbeat designers. They make decks that have a win condition within the deck somewhere, but they need to dig for answers. Spikes are the villains, or the, Nicol Bolas's of Magic the Gathering. They're out to prove something or show off how good they are. These are your inventors, your tuners, your analyzers. These people will do anything possible, even if it means shaving off 0.01 of the average mana cost in a deck. They will finely tune their decks to make sure that they are the best player at the table. So now that we've defined what a Timmy, a Johnny, and a Spike is, what exactly are you? Me, personally, I am a Spike Timmy player. I love the big flashy spells and the big flashy combos that go with it. As you guys may know, I have a Xeris deck that recently won a Commander Tekken match, and honestly, this deck showcases exactly why I am a Timmy and Spike player. I'm out to prove something and be the very best while playing the biggest spells at the table. Do you know what you are? Awesome! Now, let's go ahead and pick a commander. Since I don't know what you guys are on the other side of this screen, and please do let me know who you are down in the comments below, where do we exactly start with picking a commander? This process is the most daunting only because there are so many legendary creatures and planeswalkers and now vehicles that can be your commanders. So to start off, we're going to start off with something a little bit on the simpler side. We're going to start with a monocolored commander that is recent enough so that way all you young folks who are just getting into Magic know exactly where we're talking about. So for this example on how to brew a commander, we're going to go with Miral, Shield of Argive. Mono white colored commander that doesn't really need any sort of color fixing, so we can just throw in a bunch of basics to help cover our mana base if we need to. She has really good power and toughness for being only 4 mana, for being 3 and a white, and she lets us have our turn so that way no one can interact while we are doing our big turn. Plus, she gives us more soldiers when she attacks, so we gotta find some way to keep her protected when we go flying into the red zone. Since Muriel cares about the number of soldiers on the field when she attacks, let's make sure that this deck is fully loaded with good soldiers. Most of our soldiers are going to be on the ground and they can't fly, which is going to be a big problem when we're going up against creatures that fly above our heads. So let's go ahead in Aerial Responder and Celestial Crusader. While yes, the Crusader is not itself a soldier, he will buff all of our white creatures. While Aerial Responder has some very nice keywords, we should also add some token makers to help keep our soldiers high in number. Let's add in Brimaz, King of Oreskos, Captain of the Watch, Hazda Marshal, Keeper of the Accord, Patrol Signaler, Precinct Captain, Permanent Captain, Resolute Reinforcements, and Reverend Hoplite. These will make more soldiers for Muriel to see to give us even more soldiers. Now, if you're not into Planeswalkers, don't add these two in the tech, because these two can absolutely swing a game in your favor. We're going to add in Elspeth, Sun's Champion, and Bosri Ket. Elspeth gives us 3 soldiers just for using her plus ability, which is insane. Also, can come in really big in a pinch when we set off the board wipe if things are getting a little too dicey. Not to mention, Bosri Ket can also give us more soldiers with his ultimate, and even give us more with his minus. Next, we should add Thalia, Heretic Katha, and Court Street Denizen. In order to get damage through, we have to clear a path. Thalia and the Denizen will just do exactly that for us. While also on a damage note, we're going to add the Gold Knight Commander. This will buff up all of our soldiers, so that way we can push even more damage through. Now let's get some more damage on the field. We're going to add in Argivin Phalanx, Crusader of Odric, Mirror Entity, Aldrich, Master Tactician, and the Phantom General. These will add tons of power and our utility to our battlefield. The Phalanx will almost certainly cost 1 mana, giving us even more soldiers. Aldrich can just tell our opponents to just not block, which will help push even more damage through. Mirror Entity will boost the base power and toughness of all of our creatures. The Crusader of Odric can just be huge without even trying, and the Phantom General is just a good anthem effect. Now, this is going to sound arbitrary and completely stupid, but we're gonna go ahead and add in Veteran Armorsmith and Veteran Swordsmith in here as well. Since everything in this deck will be a soldier, we can just give an absolute base +1/+1 if both of them are on the battlefield. Since we'll be making a bunch of 1/1 creatures, let's go ahead and add in and add up Mentor of the Meek and Soul Warden to keep us sustained in the fight with life gain with the Warden, and to give us some card draw with Mentor. Now let's round out these creatures with Burnished Heart, Fencing Ace, Selfless Squire, and Solemn Simulacrum, aka the Sad Robot. The Burnished Heart and the Sad Robot will help ramp us when things are getting a little bit on the tougher side. The Squire can save us from lethal damage, at least for 1 turn. The Fencing Ace is here for the double strike. For some quick soldier tokens, we'll add in Raise the Alarm, and as a big finisher, we'll add in Deploy to the Front and Launch the Fleet. That covers most of the deck, but Muriel is going to need help from other spells in order to wrap up and finish out the game. Since Mono White struggles with a ton of things, let's add in some artifacts to help balance it out, if not up our power just a wee bit more. First is Ramp. The best things that you can add in this deck are Arcane Signet, Cage Sun, Soul Ring, Gilded Lotus, Archaeomancer's Map, and Sword of the Animist. All of these are extremely great RAM sources, especially the Sword of the Animist and the Cage Sun. We will add in Skull Clamp to help Muriel draw more cards, since we do make a bunch of 1/1 artifact soldiers. Paying 1 mana to clamp one of our soldiers for 2 cards is going to be helpful for us in the long run. And what is a soldier without armor? Let's go ahead and throw in Darksteel Plate and Lightning Greaves. The plate will make sure our commander is indestructible, and the Lightning Greaves will make her completely untargetable. But what about other things? Can we protect ourselves even further? In order to answer that question, we need to turn to enchantments and some instants. Deafening Silence will stop most decks by limiting the number of non-creature spells they cast to just 1 per turn. Ghostly Prison will help keep us safe while we freely attack our opponents and get even more soldiers. Spirit Mantle will be sure that our commander gets through with damage and make her an invalid target for creature abilities. unbreakable formation will also help keep Mural and all of our soldiers intact and give them a counter if it was cast during our main phases. And one last odd, which I know is probably going to piss off everybody, is we're going to add in Smothering Tide. Yes, I know it is a staple in every white deck imaginable, but in the spirit of things, this will also help ramp us in the long run and also give us even more mana to play around with. We're also going to add in And They Shall Know No Fear, just grants indestructibility to our board for defense, and we're also going to add in Rallying Roar. This will help us defend if we have no creatures to defend with. Now, let's get even more damage on board with some better soldiers. Most white creatures and most white enchantments are pretty well lackluster, so we'll have to be a bit creative when putting enchantments in. For example, a Glorious Anthem is a nice buff for 3 mana, but let's go in with another Gold-like commander effect in the deck. Valor of Arcos has the exact same wording as Gold Knight Commander, but we still need to add in more reliable damage. True Conviction will give all of our creatures double strike and lifelink. Honestly, that is a lot of damage. Paladin class and Intangible Virtue will also come in handy. Paladin class at level 3 can give one creature double strike and an absolutely insane buff. Not to mention, Intangible Virtue gives all of our tokens vigilance, so that way we can keep them up as blockers in the event someone comes our way. Next, we're going to add in my favorite enchantment, Armored Ascension. This grants one creature +1/+1 for each planes we control and gives them flying. Now onto our removal suite. White has a plethora of single target and en masse destruction effects, but we have to be excruciatingly picky because we don't want to not just piss off everybody at the table, but we need to make sure we have versatility and redundancy. So let's go ahead and add in the staples, Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares. Next is Return to Dust. It's another great exile effect for artifacts and enchantments, and you can get a second one if it's cast during a main phase. We'll also add in Crush Contraband, which is basically the same thing as Return to Dust, but it's a little bit on the selective side. Afterlife, Crib Swap, and Generous Gift can all destroy or exile stuff and gives our opponent a creature instead. And while sometimes you just need one counter spell, so let's just go ahead and throw in one of the best white counter spells that there are, Mana Tithe. Why? It's funny seeing someone cast an X spell and can't pay the 1 extra to keep the spell. Board wipes. This one is going to be a little bit tricky, because for board wipes, we don't want to destroy our own board when we have a massive board of soldiers. But sometimes you just need to hit the red button to reset everything on everybody's board. So we're going to go ahead and add in Austere Command and Martial Coup. Austere Command is excruciatingly versatile. We don't have to destroy creatures with it, we just have to get rid of whatever's the problem, whether that be artifacts, enchantments, big creatures, while Martial Coup, if we sink enough mana into it, will refund us with soldiers, so that way when we cast Mural, we can just keep our massive board state. And for our final card in this deck, we need one I Win card. This is going to be in the form of Bond of Discipline. Bond of Discipline taps down every creature on the board that isn't ours, and gives all of our creatures lifelink. We literally can swing out to kill either one player or the whole table if we have an army of soldiers. And last, but certainly not least, is our mana base. Like I said, this deck is single colored, so we'll just go ahead and throw in 35 planes, and what we'll do is we'll take a planes off and replace it with another non-basic land for something that'll help our deck. So getting the right mana base for this deck is going to be easy. Myriad Landscape for extra lands. We're going to add in Windbrisk Heights, Unclaimed Territory, Path of Ancestry, Temple of the False God, Secluded Steppe, Drifting Meadow, Desert of the True, Scavenger Grounds, Mistvale Plains, Reliquary Tower, Sirigi Steppe, and Buried Ruin. Now all that's left is to test the deck against your friends. I hope this video gave you guys some insight into making commander decks along with picking commanders to play. Do keep in mind, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's all subjectional. In the description below is the deck list for Mural, so that way you can see all these cards, so that way you guys can try and either replicate the deck, so that way you guys can bring it to your next game night. So with all that, thank you very much for watching this episode, and I'll see you guys next time. See you guys then.